What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the FN Studios. We want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to all our friends in the United States. So we've decided to put a couple of lists together for some of the fights we are thankful that we're going to see in the future, featuring some of the most exciting fighters on the planet. We're going to start with you. Number 5, what is the fifth best fight on that list for you?
Yeah, this is fun, man. To be able to just talk about how much we love fighting, this is the dream of this job. I am very, very excited to say goodbye and good luck and wish him well in the future to Uriah Faber. One of the great fighters of the lower weight classes ever, pioneer of the lower weight classes, a leader in his own gym, and he has given us some of the most entertaining fights that you're ever going to see ever, and it's the perfect guy for him. Brad Pickett, another awesome veteran, another guy who is a leader in the lighter weight classes, especially in Europe and Great Britain, and to bring these two guys together, it's going to be a celebration. Yeah. It's going to be celebration of fighting and a celebration of the lighter weight class.
Oh, I love it. Uriah Faber, just thinking back to how excited he made people about tuning into the WEC, some of the cool rivalries he's had there, just some of the most action-packed moments in mixed martial arts. When you think of fighters that just go after it, his fight with Mike Thomas Brown just really epitomizes how tough Uriah Faber is, and that's why people love to tune into him. And Brad Pickett, we've been showing his fights on Fight Network for so long, back in the Cage Rage days, and to see him fight there, and of course the WEC, and now fighting in the UFC, I wouldn't be surprised if he called it a day too. Like, how, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know you don't want to spoil the party because it's at Uriah Faber's backyard, but it's Uriah Faber. He knows it's Uriah Faber.
Is there going to be a better last fight for either of these two gentlemen? Like, this is going to be so good. And to Rammer's point, if you go to Fight Pass and you look up Mike Thomas Brown versus Uriah 2, Uriah finished that fight with 2 broken hands.
Exactly. My number 5, a fight they just they're talking about right now after UFC 205 in New York City. Yoel Romero dispatching Chris Weidman, becoming the #1 contender at 185 pounds. Michael Bisping says, I'm good to go. Now, normally, I wouldn't want a fight like this because you think of how destructive Yoel Romero is, but I really didn't. I always give Michael Bisping a chance, always. But I gave him such a little chance in that fight with Luke Rockhold, and for him to come out, taking that fight on short notice, doing the Michael Bisping thing, winning the title by stopping Luke Rockhold, something he doesn't often do in the game, it tells me Michael Bisping can do anything. He can beat anybody on any night.
Anderson Silva, Luke Rockhold for the title.
And Dan Henderson. Remarkable.
But yes, Yoel Romero is a terrifying guy. It'll be about mindset. Mike's got to go in and not buy into that. Every fight is dangerous and go and express himself freely. But watching Yoel Romero is pretty spectacular, too. My number 4 on the list, anytime Demetrious Johnson's going to fight, I got to see it. Because you're seeing, again, part of my personal fascination with how fighting evolves. That when you take an educated combat sportsman or martial artist and you put them against another one, you're forced to innovate. The things he knows versus the things he knows, one person has to elevate the knowledge and their understanding of fighting. And Demetrious Johnson does it every single time. He's fighting a question mark. Now there's rumors it's Tim Elliott. Sometimes people can put rumors out intentionally as well, but it doesn't really matter to me. Whoever it is, they'll bring their very best game, and whoever is ever going to face Demetrious Johnson, it's got to start with believing you can win the fight. Weidman told us that when he went to face Anderson Silva. Holly Holm said that when she went to face Ronda Rousey. These unbeatable people are human, but I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, and as much as I love Demetrious Johnson, when I see this guy perform inside of the cage, it's almost mind-blowing. It's like, okay, I clearly have to go back and re-watch these fights a bunch of times to see what he's actually doing inside of the cage. The problem is, I really want somebody that can push his level. A fighter like Dominic Cruz, for example, who is also operating on a different level. What is Mighty Mouse? What is he capable of when pushed to that level?
Yeah, we got to see it. He works with tenets. He just, in these situations, I do this. He also plays bait and switch. Whatever you think he's doing, your reaction is the wrong reaction, no matter what it is. And you're right. I mean, Cruz beat him. That's the fight to make. Cruz has plenty on his plate, though.
My number 4 on the list, we're going to get to see it here in Toronto. Max Holloway, I believe one of the future kings of the division, taking on the former lightweight king and Anthony Pettis. Just think about how this fight's going down. Yeah. What do you anticipate? Is it at the end of the night, because of what we've seen from Max Holloway, do you believe that he gets his arm raised?
I never bet against Anthony Pettis.
But you can see it.
But yeah, I might this time. Max Holloway has all the skills. He's got a new understanding. He's on a different level for how he's playing with range too. But Anthony's the kind of guy who can handle that. Both of these guys are really seeing things that other fighters aren't seeing. I'll lean towards Anthony being able to get to his chin where others haven't. But man, I can't wait. That brings us to my number 3, DC versus AJ, also
awesome.
in Toronto.
Cool.
And we got to see it again. You know, some fights are exactly what you anticipate they might be. Wonder Boy, when he's at range, he's beating up Woodley, and when Woodley's going to get to him, he's either going to wrestle him to the ground and beat him up, or land his right hand. It was exactly what you thought. And AJ versus DC the first time, exactly the same thing. Anthony Johnson lands on him, he gets him hurt, but if DC gets to his back, he wins the fight. I don't think this one will be nearly that cut and dry. I really don't. I think you're going to see the very best Anthony Johnson that you've ever seen. I think Daniel is able to handle the very best anybody he's ever seen, but this is going to be a high-level, super intense 15, 20, 22, 24, maybe even 25-minute fight.
Yeah, one of my number 3 on the list, as much as I love that fight, because just think, I really hope we get to see a few rounds between Daniel Cormier. I think so. You think it goes past the 3rd round?
It's going to go past the first round or two. It's going to go a little deeper because Anthony's not going to be just desperate to finish him, and Dan is going to fight very, very smart. It's going to be a good one, man.
My number 3, I'm not sure if it's going to round number two. It's all going down at Rizin, Mirko Cro Cop and Wanderlei Silva, the rematch.
Shut up.
In Japan.
Shut up.
In Japan.
Do they test?
I don't think they do.
There? Spooky. That is crazy.
And I think that's the reason why it's just, I love throwback fights. You hope they test. You hope they do. You hope everybody you hope that if everybody adheres to the rules of 2016. I'm just not guaranteeing it. And because of that, and I'm sure Mirko Cro Cop and Wanderlei Silva understand it, they've signed on the dotted line to face whatever Wanderlei Silva or Mirko Cro Cop they expect to be facing.
Listen, this is a brilliant fight, and these are brilliant fighters, and we have no intention of undermining it with this part of the discussion. We're just acknowledging the realities of fighting, and the reason that whatever gray area was played or tested at any time is because you're like, he might be testing gray areas. I better. And he's thinking, no, I don't know if he's. And that is how the arms race of stretching the limits of what's acceptable happens. But regardless of this, 2 of the greats of any era together again at last.
What's your number 2?
Cruz versus Garbrandt.
Yeah, awesome.
And we just talked to Michael Chandler this week, who in the past has trained with Dominic Cruz, and we asked him, you know, as you trained with him more, did it get easier to touch him? He's like, no, it got worse. And, you know, and he said, hey, big fan of Cody Garbrandt, and how can you not be? You know, he fights with a swagger and a confidence, and, you know, he's able to travel a large distance while throwing heavy shots in balance. But I don't know that he's going to be able to touch Dom. Now, Dom has to train at his highest level, focus at his highest level, really do everything that he does. This isn't a foregone conclusion, and even Dominic Cruz can't treat it that way. But if he's at his best, and if he goes in there and gets his thing going, you see magic. And don't expect anything different. He's one of the greatest fighters that has ever lived.
But that's the thing. It's Dominic Cruz. He doesn't take things lightly. He knows exactly what he needs to do to come in and execute the Dominic Cruz way. And then you have to ask yourself, if he goes out and has a performance that we know he's going to have, is this Cody Garbrandt biting off too much too soon at this point of his career?
I think so. I think most are, though. I think Dominic's mind is on such a level.
Dillashaw didn't, though.
Well, Dillashaw is one of the great fighters of the era as well. And he's evolved and he's changed. The problem with Dom is if you think you understand it, you just fell into his trap. You know, if you think you can anticipate something, he makes you pay for being smart enough to anticipate where he's going to be, because he's telling you lies all night long. He's programming you to make bad choices. A young guy who doesn't read into that, commits to his power, has a shot, always has a shot. But I think Dominic Cruz is going to blow our minds again. My
number 2 is Cain Velasquez, Fabricio Verdum, the rematch. I just have a feeling that the first fight, we all recognize how good Fabricio Verdum is. That's a no-brainer. But I just feel that Cain Velasquez didn't have the type of performance that we've seen him have in the past, and I think we're going to see that from the
Stipe knocked out Verdum moving forward. Verdum moved forward exclusively against Kane. Kane will be able to study that. Verdum will have to have changed. Number one fight in the world for me right now, Cub Swanson versus Doo Ho Choi, UFC 206. Cub Swanson is just an elegant martial artist. Watching him move, you know, why do people watch dance or the Olympics or any of these things? You watch for the beauty of movement, and in combat, nobody moves more special than Cub Swanson. Doo Ho Choi is a little assassin, and you know, really, and a little odd, and he has a philosophy of growth and study, and it's early for him. But we're going to get a pretty special fight.
We're going to wrap it up. BJ Penn, the return of the prodigy. That's the fight I need to see. He's been spending time at Greg Jackson's with Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone. I think he's going to show us some magic. Again, that's it for us. Happy Thanksgiving to our friends in the U.S.